Are you ready?
Starting now?
Well, now you just messed it up, you knob.
It sounds like to me that our conversation is almost right on spot right now. So
Yeah, it does.
Right. Popular with the ladies.
Right. Just to get used to it.
A.
Yeah, fucking A back at you. Yeah, totally. This is fucking explicit now.
The explicit button. Let me use my finger.
It is time for another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And that episode starts now. All right, everyone. Welcome again to another episode of Sober, Not Mature. Mike and I are actually getting together here a little bit earlier in the week. I was kind of teasing this a little bit on Instagram, but it's Thursday night where we're at. This is probably not going to be live until Friday, but did we? And I was thinking about it. Did we record on Thursday when you were here, Mike?
Yeah, I believe we did.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I'm like, this would have been our first Thursday, but yeah, because you left on Friday, so it had to have been.
Right.
Okay. Well, we just got to pick all the other days of the week to record sometimes.
Hey.
But all right. So before I start bitching about the thing that I was bitching about on Instagram, I figured I'd get all the good positive stuff out of the way. So since last week, and I just looked at our followers on Instagram. Through today, which is only like an hour ago, we've got 352 followers on Instagram. Here's the funny part too. So we were at the whole 311 thing that we were messing around with.
Right.
And later on that day, whatever day it was that we recorded on Saturday, it dropped to 309.
Well, thank you
and
those
I'm like,
two people.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, somebody listened to us. They dropped off and got us off that number, and then it popped up a little bit over this week. So other few things I looked at is so far the number of plays that we've had through the hosting company where we do this is 175 so far.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought so too. And then the website I looked at, gosh, I think 2 days ago, and I believe it was like 150 people so far have been what they call unique. Even though we're not unique, we've had unique visitors. Right. So like 150 people have visited the website so far. And here's the thing that blows my mind, because on the hosting company which we use, which is Anchor, I don't mind plugging them because number one, it's free and they're doing us a hell of a favor. I look at it that obviously they're hosting us for free. But it goes through all these different statistics. And what do you think the percentage breakdown is between, well, what do you think is higher, men or women that are listening to us?
Just from my anecdotal personal experience, I would say women.
Okay, so what percent do you think? And you're right, more women are listening, but what percent?
60, just a shot in the dark.
Well, you know what? Ring whatever bell you have. 59% of the listeners, and no shit, 59% are women. Which, quite honestly, it kind of blew my mind. And I'm like, I can barely appeal to women in a personal level, let alone I'm like, why do they want to hear this stuff? But
Right.
Other thing too, which I thought was kind of fun, was they break it down into age groups, and the largest age group right now. 57% of the people listening are between 45 and 59. So, there's the old people crowd, right?
Yeah, it's our demographic.
I know. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, the dudes are on their own. If you want to listen, fine. We already got the other population, but we got to figure out how to. Maybe we got to think up some new hip terms or something like that to get the young kids in here, right? Get the cool kids.
Screw.
I know, yeah, they're probably off. I don't know. I don't even know what do young kids do these days, right?
They're all on TikTok or something.
Right. What's funny is No, go ahead.
I said, did that sound like being an old man? They're all on the TikTok.
Yeah, if you would have said the TikTok, yes, absolutely. But what's funny is there's a ton of people that use TikTok and post videos on Instagram, which it didn't really surprise me. But Instagram, you can record videos and do all the different stuff on there too, of course. But
Mm-hmm.
I just saw a lot of, there's a lot of that. I don't know, that cross layering, I guess, between social media. But yeah, it was just kind of, I don't know, those statistics kind of cracked me up. And when I was originally looking, I was like, damn, really 59% are women. It just,
that's right. We're popular with the ladies.
right. Popular with the ladies.
Right.
So, yeah, if anyone on there is or on here is new listening, you can also find us on Instagram and Facebook, simply at SoberNotMature. Like I said, Instagram and Facebook, same handle. Anything I post on Instagram ends up on Facebook also. And our website, pretty simple. It's got everything available there, is SoberNotMature.com.
Yep.
And that's got links to all the different places that you can listen to the podcast. You can listen right on the website. That's number one, but also Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, both Audible and Amazon Music. I just added this week iHeartRadio and TuneIn Radio.
Really?
Google, yeah, which I thought was kind of fun. I saw the link on there again through Anchor, and I'm like, God, iHeart, I wonder. And it was pretty easy. I signed up for that. TuneIn took a day. I had to send in an email, and then I don't know if they check it out and then approve you. But yeah, we're on both of those too. So,
Nice.
and I checked them all out, and all the links work, and all of those links are on our website. So the easiest thing to do, you can go to Instagram. There's a link to the website, but if you're on the website, you can get to everything. So,
right.
So there, yeah. So
Yeah.
anyone who's new, by all means, we thank you for being here, and anyone who's been around for a minute, we thank you for coming back. Oh, last thing too, I just so you know, I ordered one of our T-shirts, one of the Sober Not Mature T-shirts, and we have a listener, and I told her I was going to call her a super fan because she also ordered a T-shirt. So hers has been ordered and on its way. Mine should be here, I think, within the next day or two. I paid for the quicker shipping because I wanted to get it sooner. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, I want to see how these things look before we really start promoting it,
Right.
But I thought about coming up, and I did a promo code for her so she could get a discount on it. And I thought about, and I wanted to get your opinion on this, is, we're doing a promo through our anniversaries, and I thought we could do, if I get the shirt in time and if she gets it in time, I want to see how both, get her opinion, how it looks and how it fits and all that stuff. But I figure if we did a promotion, and if we start it this coming Monday, which is the 11th, it can run through your anniversary, and it's a 12-day sale, which goes along with a little anniversary of ours that's coming up. So
yeah, a dozen, cousin.
Exactly. So I do want to make sure. I just want to get the shirt first before I start doing that. I don't want to start, having people buy it. Now I'll do the promo code too. Basically, what I did, there was a little over, I don't know, $7.82 or something like that in profit. I just stripped the profit down. So we're not making any money on it. We're not looking at doing that right now. We just want, if people want to buy one of the T-shirts, by all means. I'm not being shy about this stuff. I want it to grow. I want to promote it. Same thing Mike is thinking too. And so any help we can get, we would certainly appreciate it. So
yes, we would.
So there. All right. So should we bitch now about about the statistics?
What are we gonna bitch about?
The statistics, the 90% fail rate.
Yes, please.
All right. So here's the deal. I'm going to just recap what I put on Instagram. But I got an email a message from some dude. I don't know who he is. Something about podcast something, and he's promoting this whole thing. Which again, the idea I think is cool. At least the concept. He's trying to put basically interview guests in touch with podcasters to get them on the show and this and that. And basically, from what it sounds like, somebody's ended up paying for this because he's paying out. Like if we take a guest on the show that we get here, we could get, and brace yourself, up to $19.50 for having a guest on. So he has a link to a YouTube video, so I'm watching it, and if I had to guess, I'd say he's probably in his mid 30s. Decent looking guy, very personable, and then he starts talking about, he's like, basically this is why you should do it, because 90% of podcasts fail in the first year, and I'm literally out of my mouth. I'm like, what the fuck? Because then, it made me think back, and I actually looked back at the episode. If anyone wants to go back and listen to what basically more of our opinions on statistics and things like that, it has to do with staying sober and what people say and how many people might stay sober and success rates. And both Mike and I are like, fuck all that. We're going to stay sober. Or to piss people off.
Right. Spite. Pure spite.
Exactly. So, I rewound it a couple of times and played it, and that's when I got on Instagram and I posted about it, and I'm like, fuck failure and all this different stuff. And the more I thought about it, is the funny part is that it's not this fuck knuckle that gets up here and is telling this, statistic. It's just it's a bad marketing idea, because really what it's coming down to is he's saying that, okay, you're going to fail if you don't do business with me. So,
right.
I mean, he didn't make up the statistic, but he's passing along this information, So that in and of itself, I was just thinking it's a bad marketing idea, but it also made me think about a couple other things, not just you and I and what we talked about, the spite. And once again, it's in episode 4. I went back and I was kind of popping through there, and I found the area that we talked about it. But it made me think about the how detrimental that can be in recovery. I mean, you and I took a totally different mindset. As you said, how do you get an alcoholic to do something? Tell him he can't.
Absolutely.
So you and I are built that way. Not everyone else is. So
like most alcoholics generally are. If they apply this thing, don't tell me I can't do something. I will.
Right. No, and I agree. And your mic is cutting out just a little bit, just so you know. And I agree. And I'll say the majority of us, are like all of our friends are. We know that much. But then what if you got that person that's on the fence and they're sitting in a room full of, 50 people, and they get these statistics? I just think it's a bad thing to put on somebody's brain, but that's just my opinion. You and I don't believe in statistics for, different reasons, and all the reasons. I mean, you and I together, believe in the statistics or don't believe them that different people, outside of us do. But I don't know, again, bad marketing idea. And I just thought it was stupid. But the other thing that is, I think that's key here, and we talked about this on the last podcast, I've written about it, is that when we started this, and when we talked about it to begin with, both of us said to each other, if this thing doesn't work, what the fuck do we care? We don't.
Right.
No. Because the end result is our goal was, begin with, when I joined Instagram just before this page, was like, I just want to connect with more people, get more people out there, whatever, talk about recovery, because I wanted that. And then you and I were talking about that. We're like, hey, what if we help one person? What if what we say resonates? That's why we lead meetings and everything, the same thing.
Right.
I mean, you can't fail by leading a meeting. Same thing as we can't fail by doing this. And the other thing too is everything that I just read off in the beginning of this, plus we've not only hit everything that you said you had no expectations, so you won right away.
There you go.
So you won right away. But even with everything else we talked about, we've already exceeded what we wanted to do. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, how in the world can we fail? We can't.
Right.
I mean, even if we shut off our microphones right now and never did another episode, we win. Yeah, I mean, we do.
Absolutely.
So it just, again, all that stuff was just kind of crazy in my head. But here's another thing that I thought was kind of cool. So we got suggestions the last time, and we got some more suggestions. And I actually know who submitted the suggestions now. And it's somebody you would know who this person is. You don't know her physically, but you'd know who she was if I said her name. And I'm not going to say it openly, but you know who she is. She's a normie though, and she's been the one given. She's like, oh, by the way, that was me. I'm like, really? I'm like, these are great suggestions. So she has more. A couple of them that I've got. Well, I know both of us have opinions on this, but ego. I've got opinions on that. Well, you probably have more opinions on that than me, because about me. Trigger, recognizing cravings, urges, social gatherings. She had mindfulness in here, and I actually texted her and asked her what she meant by it. But she's basically talking about mindfulness thinking before you speak type of thing, like our mindset of practicing the pause, think before you speak, all the sort of things.
Sure.
How do you practice the principles when it's really hard? And just so you know, a woman said that. So as soon as I read this, when it's really hard, I said, "That's what she said."
That's what she said.
That is what she said.
Nice.
And then she talked about meditation. We talked about that a little bit, or mentioned meditation. And then she said maybe, or yeah, that was it. So out of all of those, I mean, I think they're all topics that, easily we can talk about. Do you have any one in particular that you'd want, like one that stuck out for you that you want to talk about? I mean, triggers, I think, is one at least I want to touch on. But
yeah, that's the one that came to mind for me as well.
Okay, start off.
Well, I mean, I went through my first brush with sobriety and recovery was very psychologically based. And so triggers were a big thing that they talked about back then. And doing the way I work my program today and my recovery today, triggers are excuses. Nothing can make me drink if I'm working the program. That's the bottom line. Nothing can make me drink and use. Nothing. Not death, not poverty, not injury, not nothing. A trigger. What is a trigger? A trigger. I mean, I drank everywhere. I drank in every situation in my life.
Right.
So this triggered me going to this movie, watching this band, listening to this music, anything, right? Everything I did revolved around drinking and using. So anything could be a trigger for me if I allowed it to be.
Life, right?
Life is a trigger. Yeah. So to me, triggers are an excuse. Yes, there are things that may make me think about drinking and using more than other things, but again, they're just things. And a trigger is an excuse. This triggered me. Nothing can trigger me. Everything triggers me.
I just hope everyone knows I'm laughing because I can hear this disgust in your voice.
Right. And anybody that knows me, again, I don't remember if I brought it up in my story or not, but a good friend of ours and sponsored both of us at certain times. He said Alcoholics Anonymous is the exact opposite of psychology, right? Psychiatrists and psychologists want to change the way we think so we act differently. Alcoholics Anonymous wants to make us act differently so that eventually we will think differently. And that's how this worked for me. I started acting differently, and I still do. My thoughts are still all kinds of screwed up. Trust me, kids. I've got all kinds of thoughts in my head that are so wrong it's not even funny, but I don't act on them today. So triggers. I'm done with it.
Well, so and that's the thing too, and I've written about this, I posted on this, and I probably talked about it. And I think the first time that the word trigger was brought up, and I think it was brought up by it might have been mom or one of the family members or something like that, in a very innocent way.
Sure.
And just kind of like, I understand would that trigger you. In my mind, I even before I understood how I felt about that, it was almost like a cringing type of word.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know why, but I figured it out. And I'm the same way as you are, because like when I remember going into Giant Eagle on 117th Street. I mean, when we were still at the Keating Center, and even when we were at the Three-Quarter House, and I would avoid walking down the liquor aisle, and it was right in the middle of the store, if you remember that.
It still is.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is weird, because here in Wisconsin, the liquor stores are always like they're at the front of the store, walking through either an open area. It's kind of a separate area of every store. It's not like right out in the middle. I think Walgreens is the only one that has it like down an aisle that's in the main area. Okay, but so I avoided that because it I don't know, I just felt uncomfortable. I felt weird. But the thing of it
Right.
was, over time, I realized that everything that people were talking about, they're like, "Oh, that triggered me, that this and that," that was something really. It was me being uncomfortable. If I was, and I'm using air quotes,
Mm.
triggered, if you want to throw that word on it, all it was is a situation that made me uncomfortable.
Right.
And to your exact point, if I walked down that liquor aisle, there wasn't a bottle of whiskey that was going to pop out, pop the top off, and shove its way down my throat. That was not
Right.
going to happen.
Nope.
And the thing of it is, today, I don't. And I'm going to talk about thinking about drinking in a minute too, because when you mentioned that, that kind of brought another thought to my head. But the
Hmm.
whole point is I learned over time, and I started to really despise the word, because you're right. It People have put a label on that, and it's an excuse because they can say, I was triggered, I was this, I was that. But you and I are the same way in that area where we drank we drank at everything. We
Right.
drank every day, every time of the day, every year, um, every holiday, anything like that. Can you hear that buzzing in the background?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little in a
Okay,
strange
hang
way.
on. Well, I don't know what that was. That was weird. Okay, my
Mhm.
back.
Yeah, you're
Yeah, for a minute there, I'm like, God, is somebody trying to call me? But no. Okay, so it's okay now.
yep.
Um, but so I figured out that that whole thing, it's an uncomfortableness, and I thought about this incident that happened. So it was the first time that I was ever in a bar after I was sober,
Right.
and I'm talking about like a real bar, not like going into an Applebee's or a Chili's that has a bar, but I mean it was a bar.
Right.
And out of all the weird circumstances, it was my son's. It's the end of his flag football season. They had an after like this end of the season party for the kids, and they had it. It was sponsored by the local bar, or one of the local bars.
Right.
So, and my ex told me about that. I'm like, well, that's kind of fucking weird. The first time I'm going to be in a bar, it's because of my son. I'm like,
Right.
that's just weird. But it was after I was back here. So I moved back here at 3 years and a few months. So it was either that fall or it's the next fall. So somewhere either 3 or 4 years sober, right in that area.
Right.
Um, so my ex and I, we went. They provided pizza, garlic bread, all that sort of things. They had beer for the adults, and I'm talking again quotes here, the adults, not me. And
Right.
then they had free beer and free soda. So I'm sitting at a table with my ex, just her and I, and we're at a regular high top bar table. She's drinking a beer out of a regular plastic cup, and I've got my soda, and I'm eating like crazy because that's what I do.
Hmm.
And I was fine. None of it bothered me even one little bit. And then she had to go meet a friend of hers. My stepson at the time was coming to pick up my son. And then I'm like, yeah, I'll hang out here until he gets here.
Right.
And then the kids, all the boys, went outside. It was nice out still, so they went outside, went across the street in the yard over there, and they're playing around with the football. So I went to the bathroom, and I walked back out, and I sat at the table, still sitting there with my soda. But now I'm alone, right?
Hmm.
And she's gone. The kids are outside, and I'm in a fucking bar. And at that moment, I felt this, just this. It was uncomfortable. It was almost like a nervousness came over me,
Right.
and I looked around for a minute, and I'm like, you don't fucking belong here. And I
Hmm.
walked outside, and I walked outside, and I stood up, sat out there, watched the kids play football for another 10, 15 minutes until my stepson showed up. So
Right.
here's the thing. Now, a lot of people would have said that's a trigger. I didn't feel like drinking. I felt really fucking uncomfortable. But the
Hmm.
whole point was, it's everything that we were taught, and it says it in the big book. We can go anywhere we want as long as we're spiritually fit, right?
Right.
And the other thing too, the other part of that is, I went there for the event, not the party. I went there for the event, not because it's a bar. I would have gone in that bar for any other reason but for that event. And as soon
Right.
as the event was over, everyone's gone, I walked the fuck out, you know?
Yep.
And that's what I don't know if I've ever explained that to anyone, but that if anyone ever asked me, what do you do? That would be my story. That's it right there. And that
Hmm.
was, again, either 3 or 4 years sober. I had plenty of foundation there, but I felt really uncomfortable. You know,
Hmm.
same thing with family events. You've been around. I mean, our family drinks.
Sure.
respectful of us. And even if they're doing their own thing, if you and I are there, or if I'm there by myself or whatever it is, nobody's going to look at us funny if we walk out, and we don't make a deal out of it. We're just, hey, we're heading out, that sort of thing.
Right.
But it's the point. There's a certain point in the night when I'm like, I get that feeling, the little bell goes off in my head. I shouldn't be here, and I got to go,
Yep.
So, but yeah, I mean, it was just when that's the same thing. So you and I are on the same page with triggers. I cringe every time I read about triggers because I'm like, it's being uncomfortable. I don't believe in triggers. I don't believe in them. But the other thing too that I used to hear a lot in leads, and it used to drive me crazy, was you get a lot of these people, and I mean, these are guys and women with long-term sobriety or only a few days or a few months or whatever it is, but all these people saying that they never think about drinking. Or they never think about alcohol. I don't think about drinking. I don't think about alcohol anymore. It never crosses my mind. And in my head, I'm like, really? And I said that to people before. I'm like, I said that in a lead before. I said that in the discussion. I'm like, alcohol crosses my mind all the time. I think about drinking all the time, not physically taking the drink, but
right.
In a circumstance, it's a smell, it's a feeling, it's a time of year, whatever it is. And then I'm like, I remember what I used to do. So to me, that's thinking about it, But then,
absolutely.
Yeah. But then, I also there's that uncomfortable feeling. Now, if I ever get to the point where I start thinking about it, I'm like, damn, that sounds like a lot of fun. Then I'm in trouble. But then you and I both know what that means. That means that I'm not doing the things that I need to do to that point. And there are times when shit gets bad. And I've told you this before. If things are ever going really messed up in my life, or stress is on me, there's times I'll just sit down and I'll ask myself. Sometimes I'll just say it out loud. Man, do you feel like drinking? And I'm talking to me, but I do. I honestly ask myself, because at times I'm like, I'm a ball of nerves or stress or something's going on. And if I ever get to that point where there's any hesitation, I need to make a phone call, get to a meeting, do something,
Right.
But I just think I'm not saying it's unhealthy for people not to think about it. I just don't understand it. I don't understand how people don't have those thoughts. I mean,
right.
I think you agree with me.
Oh yeah. I mean, it ties into, you said the word uncomfortable a good dozen times in the last few minutes. And I mean, I share this a lot when I do group and stuff. We all we tried to do is make ourselves comfortable. That's all we did. That, alcohol is just a symptom. The drugs are just a symptom. We want to feel good. We don't want to feel uncomfortable, So you say a trigger is just feeling uncomfortable. Yeah, we feel uncomfortable. And our default is to drink and use. That's what we've always done our entire lives. The balance of the 42 years versus the 12 years,
Right.
my entire life was drinking. I was uncomfortable. I drank. And yes, it's how you deal with the uncomfortability now. That's where we have these tools. Yes, I get uncomfortable. Of course I do. Yes, I get nervous. Yes, I get pissed off. Yes, I get all that stuff, feelings, but,
Right.
right. But it's what we do with them now, and I realize that these things don't rule my life anymore. The first step, man, my life is still unmanageable. A few weeks shy of 12 years, my life is unmanageable. I don't manage my life. The way I manage my life is to medicate myself. That's how I manage my life. That's how I've always managed my life. And if I go back to doing things my way, that's how I'm going to manage my life. So I'm uncomfortable now. I practice these principles. I do these things. I stop. I play that tape through. Fine, asshole, go take a drink. Then what? What's going to happen then? Well, let's see. You're going to start hurting people again. You're going to lose everything you've worked for. And I'll be a little uncomfortable for a couple of minutes. And guess what? It's going to pass like it always does.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and you just said like the next thing that was written down here that I had from these suggestions, practicing these principles. You said that, but so how do you do it when things do get difficult, when shit's going weird? And with whatever, any examples you can think of when things get really hard, how do you practice the principles then?
I don't do it by myself. which is, again, uncomfortable. That is not the way I do things. I'm a loner. I'm an isolator. I always have been. I still spend the majority of my time by myself, and I enjoy it. I like being alone. Um, but if it's getting really sideways and I can't handle it, I find somebody else. I go to a meeting. Like you said, you make that phone call. I hate making phone calls. The phone weighs
Right.
1,000 pounds. I don't like to lift it up, but if it's getting to the point where I need to, then I need to, you know. Yeah, and I always feel better afterwards. Even if it's not an actual phone call, if it's sending a message out, which is easier. I had to take care of some sobriety business this week. And it was a couple of things. You guys listened last week. I wasn't feeling well. And so I put things off for a couple of days, which I tend not to do anymore. But I did because I wasn't feeling well. And it was crawling up my ass a little bit because I had things that I had to do that I wasn't doing. So yesterday I got home from work and I didn't turn on the TV. I sat down on the couch and I grabbed my phone and I wrote for about an hour or so to a couple of different people, things I needed. They had questions for me, and I needed to touch base with a couple of people. And you know what? I felt pretty damn good afterwards, just by reaching out, by being a part of something bigger than myself. This loner and this isolator who does not want to be around people 90% of the time. For some reason, I feel better when I touch base with people. Again, not my way.
Well, and that's the thing too. So we had talked about this. I forget if it was last week or the week before, that you and I have now, and here's the other thing where I can, say, fuck you dudes and your failure, is that we've committed to this as another form or level of our recovery. So that's the other thing, gotcha, bitch. We're doing it for different reasons,
Right.
So for everyone that thinks, we're not out here talking. If you're talking about sunshine and flowers and all that different shit, I don't care. Do you, but
right.
We're doing this for recovery, for maybe, hopefully helping somebody, but this is helping us and we're committed to it. So Mike texted me, was that 2 days ago when we changed to Thursday?
Yeah. Something like that.
Okay. Yeah. So he sent me a text and said, hey, how about doing it on Thursday? He said this weekend's going to be busy. And my first thought was, fuck, man, I don't want to come home from work. I work all day. I'm talking to people. I'm a manager. I'm dealing with just mountains full of shit on a daily basis. The last thing I want to do is come home and put on some smiley fucking face and try to talk to all you people out there, but then that was about a 30-second conversation in my head. And I don't remember what I texted you back, but clearly I agreed.
Right. Yeah.
It
was like,
and then, but then, not only that, then I'm like, oh, this is gonna be kind of cool. It's a different day. We get to talk. And in my head, I'm like, I probably need this, right? This is all, I believe in all these things happening, people and things being placed in front of me. And you and I have talked about it. We were taught that, that people and things and circumstances, they happen, even though we don't realize they are, these things are put in front of us. And then I organized it today and I left work a half hour early because I'm like, I got to come home. I want to eat. I don't want to rush because now I'm trying to plan around it. So I could be my best self.
Sure.
But you know what I mean? And I'm one of those things but the point behind it is because this means something to me, to begin with. I was like, fuck, I don't want to do that. It's like not wanting to go to a meeting, not wanting to reach out like you were doing. But that answers that question about practicing these principles when it's hard, helping a friend, helping a family member. I've said this before. I know I've said it to you, but I've said it in leads. I've said it in discussions, the same deal. Every time, and I'm serious, every time somebody asks me to do something, with very, very few exceptions, do you want to help? Do you want to do? Do you want to go along? No, I do not.
No.
And I don't. Nope. And that's my sincere feeling. I don't want to do these things. Nope. Even if it's something that's really good, really pleasurable by chance. I'm like,
sure.
But
well, that's why I'm busy this weekend. Right. There's a horror convention here in town. My girlfriend does horror art and she's going to have a table there. And so that's why I'm going to be busy. It's not me. I don't have shit to do. I'm going
Right.
to help her. Right. And again, yeah, exactly what you were just saying. It's fun, pleasurable. This is cool stuff. It's going to be great. And fuck no, I don't want to go do it. I want to sit on my ass at home and you know, not even wallow in self-pity. I just want to just be left. Leave me alone. Leave me the fuck alone. I'm tired. I'm old.
Right. Well, and I think we're hopefully most days beyond the point of wanting to sit home, and I don't want to wallow anymore. I just want to sit home and do nothing, you know.
Absolutely.
But just to be clear, when you first explained to me what's going on this weekend, I thought you said whore convention. It's not a whore convention. Is it for like ladies of the night whores or
not a hoe convention?
Okay.
Whore.
Okay. Okay. I just want to make sure so everyone thinks you're not going to some, you know, be number one, either being disrespectful or literally going to a whore convention. Because
damn business.
Well, if you were, I'm not busy this weekend. I might take a drive out there, but
and you know, I can do anything I want as long as I'm spiritually fit and I have a reason to be there.
You're not there for the party or for the event.
That's right. Smell my finger.
You know what? That train's never late. I appreciate you that way. So obviously we talked about, you know, the triggers and she's got recognizing cravings, which in that social group gatherings, all that stuff, I think we pretty much talked about. So I think we covered everything on here. Meditation we talked about. You and I don't meditate. We read and we try to absorb. I know people do it. And if you can do it, you know, more power to you. Meditation's not my thing. I can't talk about it because I don't know about it. So
I
one
take someone else's good thoughts and put them in my head and roll them around. That's meditation to me.
Right, exactly, and that's I get the same thing from the readings I do, and that's a wonderful way to put it. So the other thing that came to mind when I was actually when I saw her suggestions, and I thought about, you know, because all of these things, triggers and cravings and all this stuff leads to that, you know, that dreaded word of relapse, which we've already talked about. But so and just as a recap for everyone, so Mike and I were in the sober living facility. Then we went into a 3-quarter house, which was still a number of guys, but he and I roomed together. And then when that shut down for the men's side of things, we ended up getting a place on our own. So we were not part of the Keating Center anymore. We were on our own. This is our own place, but we were still living together, right? So I remember, and we were asked. It came up by, I don't know. I think I was talking to Mom, and you know, it was one of our friends that had relapsed, and she knew who the person was just from being at different events, and you know, she asked me. She's like, no, I can't even ask the question. I said, you can ask me anything. She's like, she goes, I wouldn't even want to think about it, but what if you were Mike? And she couldn't even say it. And I said, she's like, what if Mike or I relapsed? You know, she's like, yeah, but you guys live together now and this and that. And she said, what would you do? And I'm like, we already talked about it.
Right.
And she's like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah. I said, it's like going into, I mean, a marriage of sorts, right? You're combining lives.
Yeah.
You know, and I know you remember the conversation. So recap it, what we talked about.
Well, first of all, I'm going to sell all your shit.
Right.
Right. You know, not my shit. I'm going to sell your shit first. Right. No, but I mean, but the serious answer was, look, man, we're here for each other. You know, if you're willing to accept help, I will do anything I can to help you. And if not, you need to get the fuck away from me.
Right.
Basically.
And the understanding was that was the point. If that happened, either one of us drank again, the first thing we do, and we were taught this, reach out, try to help the person. If not, then you got to get the fuck out. Or we also had to understand, like, if I drank and I'm like, I'm not fucking leaving, then Mike understands that he's got to go to protect himself. You know,
right? He's
not gonna fight with me to try to make me leave. He's just gonna go.
No.
You know.
Yeah.
So, and it was a conversation that we, you know, I know it wasn't planned. It's not like we're like, Mike, Yes, Bill. Can we sit down and have a conversation about our lives and our future? However,
Why,
it
certainly,
happened. It
my
just
friend.
certainly my skinny white friend. So, so, but we just had that conversation because how could you not?
Right.
And it's the same thing with if you're in a relationship or something like that. And I remember Kathy had brought up, I think, with her daughter. I think I was like listed as a guardian or something like that at one point. God forbid anything ever happened to her or
Sure.
Kylie's dad. And she's like, the attorney said that I should put a clause in there, but I'm not going to. I said, what kind of clause? And she said, and I think at this point I was probably, well, you got to figure
clause.
Yeah, well, it was, it was a clause of like, do you want him to be, drug and alcohol tested? And I told her, I said, because my niece was under the age of 18 at the time, so probably 6-7 years ago, whenever it was.
Sure.
But even so, I mean, I was, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe 6 years sober, somewhere in that area. And I told my sister, I said, have her put the clause in there. She's like, really? Yep. I said, well, here's the thing. There's 2 different ways this can go. I said, if I'm asked to take a drug or alcohol test and I refuse, I don't deserve to be with your daughter.
Right.
If I'm asked to take a drug and alcohol test and I pass, then I'm good to go. So it's not even a question in my head. There's no reason why somebody can knock on my door right now and say, do you want to piss in a cup? No, but I will, because I got nothing to hide,
exactly.
but that's the thing. It's just a matter of all of those. You have to have those conversations. And I know that, again, family members and friends that aren't, alcoholics like us, that aren't us, they may feel comfortable, but people in our group, and especially you and I, there's nothing that either one of us has ever shied back and like, hey, do you mind if I ask you a question? It makes me laugh just thinking about that.
It's hilarious. Right. Yeah, I'm just going to fucking ask it.
Right. Well,
and you're going to answer. Right. And same with me.
Yeah. And the other thing too is that because the thing of it is that we touched on this before is that I know that what you say and that what I say, it's not hurtful. It's not going to be. We're only trying to help. And I remember too when my stepdad died. So backtrack to that for anyone. If you listen to my story, the first episode, my dad died a month before I got sober. That's what kind of led me on this path. My stepdad died July of 2011. So I was a year and 2 months, sober, somewhere in that. Yeah, beginning of July. And first of all, the difference in those coping skills between my dad dying and my stepdad dying, in both of them, I love them both. I'll say equally, but they were different men. So I love them on different levels just because they were different individuals, but I love them just the same, and my stepdad was in my life for, God, almost 30 years, so he was a huge part of my life, and his death was no less tragic to me as far as my feelings as my dad, but I didn't have any coping skills when my dad died.
Right.
But when my stepdad died, it was on a Friday, and I went down to my mom's, and I was down there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday afternoon, you called me. Do you remember what you said?
I don't exactly. Refresh my memory.
So Mike calls me, and again, we're both a year and a couple of months sober. He called me. The first thing he said, he's like, how's it going? How you doing? So obviously seeing how I was doing, and everything, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, then you need to get your ass up here tonight for a meeting. And I'm like, okay. And what did I do? I got my ass up to Cleveland for a meeting, didn't I?
Right. Yeah. Because at that point, yeah, it was important. At this point in our sobriety, we know when to get there. At that point, we didn't. We needed each other to tell each other those things.
Right.
That's the whole point of this thing, is to help each other out, and we did. By doing this thing over and over again every day for the thousands of days that we've done it, we're kind of, again, we still need to reach out. It's still not just us, but yeah, at that point we did. We were very open to the suggestions of, I guess I do.
Right. Yeah. And it was, and I never thought twice, because it was always at that point, that was a Keating Center meeting, I think, at the center. Yeah. I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean at that point, at a year and a couple of months sober, I was still going to. There was only 2 nights. I worked late Wednesday and Thursday, so those are 2 nights I didn't go to meetings. But every other day of the week, I still went to meetings. So, and I went to 2 on Sunday.
Right.
Maybe I didn't at that point, but either way, I still went to 5 meetings a week. So
Right.
at this point, I had missed Friday, Saturday, and Sunday already. So I already missed 3 meetings.
Mhm.
And granted, I was with people who cared about me. And I was safe. I wasn't in a weird environment, but that
Right.
phone call was needed because it should have crossed my mind at the time, but it didn't. You know,
Right.
I didn't think about it. Because I'm like, there's things here I got to deal with, but without that meeting, I can't deal with all this stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So
Comes
yeah,
down to that, January 6th, man. The most important thing in my life is my sobriety. If I put anything else before it, I'm gonna lose it. Just that simple.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So the last thing that came up, and I don't even know what made me think about this, but you did I ever tell you? And I know I did, but do you remember the story of me trying to escape in detox?
No.
Okay, well, good. Maybe this will feel like it's new to you too. And and what I was thinking about, so I went into detox on a Saturday, and I mean I was out of it. My blood alcohol level, I mean, it was 0.44 when I went in there. I don't know what they did to me from Saturday night until and literally till I came to on Monday. And
Mhm.
when I woke up like that, or again came to, right away, I mean, I couldn't walk. Literally my legs didn't work, and so they had me on, this whatever it is, bed watch and all this different stuff. I needed help to get up. I seriously, I couldn't walk. I had no strength, and that was it's a problem, but I'm sitting there and I just go through all the stuff. I still feel like crap, and all these things are weighing through my head. And I remember laying in that bed, whether it was Monday or Tuesday or whenever it was, but again, I couldn't walk myself to the bathroom. I seriously no strength in my legs. So my normal type of hospital bed, which figure the normal space from there to where the bathroom is in this detox place. But I'm laying in bed and I'm starting to fume because I'm like, I just went through all this shit. I'm gonna give up drinking and now I can't fucking walk. I'm like,
Mhm.
fuck this. So I'm like, I'm out of here. And I've got an IV hooked up to me at that point too.
Right.
So I pull the IV out. I get out of bed. I make it literally from the side of the bed to the end, and the alarm's going off in the bed. This female nurse who looks like the chick from, you remember Porky's, that nurse in Porky's?
Yeah.
Okay, she looked like her, Beulah, the ball breaker. That's what
Yeah.
this nurse looked like. She's big. So she comes in, and I make it to the end of the bed, and I fall into a chair that's at the end of the bed up. She's holding me down. 2 orderlies come in. They got 3 people trying to hold me down. I'm like some wild fucking animal. I'm trying to, and the whole point is that I tried to escape, but I couldn't walk more than literally 3 feet.
Mhm.
and on top of that, too, you figure that was Monday or Tuesday. I get into the Keating Center. It's like 30 days after that, I had bruise marks on my biceps from them holding me down. They had to hold me down so hard. I had bruises on there. But on top of this is a detox. It's a lockdown facility. So, I mean, add all this up. You can't walk. You're not going any further than this. Even if you could, you can't get out of the locked door. And I'm
Right.
just like, man, I don't know. Whatever made me think about that, I'm like, maybe that I don't ever want to go back to that place. Not that detox, but I'm just saying I don't want to go back there either.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I don't
But
want to
that
go
mental
back to,
piece. Right.
yeah, I don't want to go back to feeling that way because that was, I mean, seriously, man, those are some dark days, and I didn't want this. I didn't want any of this. And I think I bring that up to people all the time, and I have over the years because and I know I mentioned it before, but it really used to piss me off when people would be like, I just had this moment of clarity. I had this whisper in my ear that you got to get help, and I'm like, I had fucking nothing. I walk in, all I had was anger. I'm like,
Right.
bright lights and this grace and all these different things and these spiritual awakenings, but the thing of it is, and then we start getting told these different things that sometimes quickly and sometimes slowly. Everything that since the start of my sobriety has been slowly, and that's fine because I don't think I could handle it all quickly. If I had everything right off the bat, I don't know that I would have stayed sober if I would have had everything,
Right. Oh yeah. It's we got to earn this thing, man. Otherwise it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I had things handed to me my whole life, and I didn't put any value in them because I didn't earn them. Sobriety, I earn. I got to work at this shit every day, and at this point, I'm not willing to give it up because I burned way too mmany calories into this thing.
Yeah. And, and that's a great point too, because the other thing is that, there's I don't know, whatever the person or company, I want to say company facility, every Sunday they do a post, how many days does everyone have sober? And every day, it's like it pops up to one of the people that I follow and I post it. And I mean, I look at my sobriety counter every day and I think about that and all those people out there, which again, everyone, you do you, whatever makes you happy. But, I look at my sobriety counter every day and every one of those days, I'm like, man, my sobriety, I think, has been relatively easy. Life is not always easy, but I look at it, what other people have gone through, and I'm like, I got it pretty good, but still, I still have to earn those days. And, the whole idea that, granted, everyone's got one day, I get all that stuff, but when somebody's got 4,000 plus days, there's a difference, than 30 days and 60 days, although that first year is harder, in my opinion, to feel those days feel like, they're harder, and they are because you're working harder for them. But just because, you get beyond that certain point, every single day you and I wake up, we still have to earn that day, So I hold it extremely dearly, and I know you do too. When we, that's one of the things we joked about when we started this, and it's, it's kind of part of the whole idea of what we do. It's like, hey, we're going to have some fun here, but we do take recovery seriously. So as much as we, laugh and joke about this stuff, there'll be times when, we'll be joking about something and it's like, okay, no, we got to take this shit seriously. And we do, we never look beyond the fact of what has to be done, which is I think it's a nice mix, because if I didn't have any fun doing this, why would we do it? Right.
Absolutely.
Well, and I'm looking at my list here, and I think we covered everything on the list. But what else? Oh, next question. I guess we might as well talk about it while we're on the cast here. I've seen so many people are taking off for Easter and stuff like that. I was about to post something and say, hey, everyone else is off, just listen to us. Because I see spring breaks and hiatuses and Easter stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. But so yeah, we don't have to decide now, but we'll have to figure out next weekend. I know you've got stuff going on. I think on Saturday I'll be down by Mom and Kathy's at some point, probably not till Saturday, but we'll figure it out. Maybe we can, if we can get some time on Friday, it'd be nice to get a nice holiday version of this out there.
Absolutely. The Zombie Jesus edition.
Yeah, you know what, the Zombie Jesus, that'll be something to talk about, because that's the thing. The funny part is it took me a couple of minutes to figure you out, but now that I've got you all figured out, I laugh at all those things that
I'm glad somebody's got me figured out, because I'm still working on it.
Well, not figured out. I understand and I respect and I accept your humor. That's probably a better way to put it. So all
right, I'll take it.
So what else? Anything else that I think we got everything, on the list we can figure out next week. But anything else that you want, and, kind of closing this thing out?
No, I think we covered some good stuff today.
Okay. Then get ready to wing it there, brother.
All right, then. Here we go. Thanks for listening to us here on Sober Not Mature. Keep your ass sober for another week. Come back and visit us and go fuck yourself.
I love it, man. All right, brother. I love you.
I love you too. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
As always, thank you for listening to another episode of Sober Not Mature. To access all of our content and interact with us, please visit our website, SoberNotMature.com. Thank you again for listening, and we will talk to you soon.